So in almost every video or webinar that I teach, I almost always get the question about how do I do the zoom thing, like where I zoom in into a particular part of the screen and I do it so easily, so smoothly, so quickly, and it feels like I have tons of control over the zooming mechanism on my cursor. So I'm going to talk to you about how I do that. Another question that people ask me all the time is, Hector, how do you type so fast, right? So like, for example, instead of me typing, I literally just start talking and say, well, I want to pull up a P&L or a balance sheet or whatever. And then you start noticing that everything that I said kind of like automatically writes in there. And that's super useful for like ChatGPT. So I want to show you how I turn on the dictation where I assign a microphone to the dictation and I basically just talk and it just writes for me. And also people ask me, how do you type so quickly? And there's something called the auto text or the text expander. So I'm going to show you that. And all these three things are on a Mac only, right? Because I don't use PCs. I stopped using PCs like maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, and I threw away my last PC. I won't touch one again if I don't have to. So I use Mac only. So everything that I'm going to show you, it's on Mac. So I'm going to go into the Apple menu on the top left and then go down to system settings. Okay, so we're gonna click on system settings. And then there's a couple of things we're gonna do. So first, let's start with the zoom. So I'm just gonna type zoom in the search and then it's under accessibility. So I can or zoom, either way will get you into the screen. So once you're in accessibility, you have the zoom button and then you are in zoom. There's a couple options here. One is use keyboard shortcut to zoom. I turn that off because I don't use that. The second one is use trackpad gesture to zoom. You could turn that off or on, and I'll explain what that is. I'll leave it on for a second. Use scroll to modify the zoom. That's actually really neat. And then the last one is modifier key to control gesture. Okay, so let's start. I use a trackpad. I don't use a mouse. I threw away my mouse 3 years ago. I use a trackpad. I find myself extremely more productive with a trackpad. Also because I switched from my PC to my Mac. I've reimagined all computer functionality with a trackpad, right? So you can buy a separate trackpad for your Mac. So what this option does, the use trackpad to gesture zoom, allows me to tap 3 times with 3 fingers and it enables the zoom, right? So you just tap 3 times, enables the zoom. That's it, right? Now you can also double tap with 3 fingers. Sorry, double tap with 3 fingers. Then you can also double tap and drag. So if you double tap with 3 fingers, 1, 2, and I hold it, I get to control the zoom. Okay, so now you kind of see how smoothly I control the zoom, right? Because I do that. Okay. The other thing that I do is it says use control gesture for modifier keys. So what that allows me to do is if I use a modifier key and not the triple tap, I can use the keyboard and the mouse. So let's talk about that. So in here it says modifier key for control gesture. So here in the drop-down menu, I can pick any of the function keys like control, option, command. I think you could do other things, but I think it's got to be only like those or a combination of those. So essentially what I do in here is I come in here and I choose the combination of things that I want to enable. So I just combine 2 keys. So in this case, I'm doing control and option. I like those two together. So I just press those two. And now I programmed that these 2 buttons do the zoom. So what I do is I press these 2 buttons, okay? And then with my trackpad, I don't know if I'll be able to do this. Yeah, you can kind of see, I zoom in and out with the trackpad. So it's a combination of enabling the zoom by holding the key, what they're calling the modifier key, and then I'm using zoom in and out to control that. That's why in my presentations, that comes out so smooth. Now, there's a couple of zoom styles here. So there's full screen. So the problem with full screen is when you start zooming, like everything comes at you and it's just like overwhelming. Almost it feels like it's gonna hit you in the face. So I'm not a big fan of the full screen zoom. So instead, I will do picture in picture. So picture in picture gives you this little box that you can move around, and it's really cool. You can click on size and location, and you can pick how big you want this. So if I want to make a really small box, when I do my zoom, it's just a little box, right? So it depends on your style. What do you prefer to do when you have that box on, right? Like it really depends on your style. So like in my particular case, I like to do a much bigger box. I basically I go to the top right of the screen like this, and I make sure that it's like not bigger than like a quarter. Like this would be too big, a quarter of the screen. So I look for like an eighth of the screen, maybe like 20% of the screen or 15% of the screen, something like that. So that's kind of the size I use. So then when I use my modifier keys, I get a box that I like. So it really depends on your style in this case, your resolution, your screen size, all that stuff. Under advanced, there's other stuff. I honestly don't mess with any of these, but you can go to any of these things and try them out. I mean, there's smooth images, which I assume makes it a little bit less ruggedy or edgy when you zoom in. And so there's a couple of other things here. Actually, I don't really mess with them too much, but I like the default option. So you can go crazy in all these different options and try to see what works for you. But I really like just the stock settings to just zoom in and out with my trackpad. Okay, so that's one. The other one is like I'll go to like ChatGPT. Let me open up ChatGPT here. So I'll go to ChatGPT and like I do so many ChatGPT presentations, and people ask me all the time, like how do you type so quickly? So like I'll go to like any of my chats or whatever, and then I'll press a button, and then whatever I'm thinking in my head, I just say it, right? Like sometimes I don't even like think through it so much. I just speak naturally, say whatever I'm gonna say, and then once I'm done talking, I press a button again, and then I send that to ChatGPT or whatever. Like it works on a Word file, it works on it, like dictation in a Mac works in any application that you're in. Now ChatGPT is particularly useful because ChatGPT will clean up or will try to figure out what the heck you're saying. Right? I said a bunch of mumbo jumbo here, but it'll try to figure out what you're saying. It'll try to interpret that. It'll fix it. It'll ask you, what do you mean by that? So like dictation is particularly useful in ChatGPT, but in QuickBooks it could be useful too. Like for example, I can go into the Zoom screen and instead of typing balance sheet detail, I press my button balance sheet detail, press the button again, and it basically understood everything I said. So it really helped me save a lot of time from typing. So how do I get to that? So in the settings, in the same settings, so that would be the Apple menu, and then system settings. I'll go into I think it's called dictation. Okay, it's actually called keyboard, but under keyboard it's called dictation, and then you can turn off and on here. So there's a little button there. You can turn off and on. I have it on, of course, and then you can select the language. So if you want to do English or Spanish, you can do that. And there's a really cool thing here called text input. And then what you can do is you can click where it says text replacement right under that. And then what you can do is you can create your own abbreviations, right? So if I come in here and I put PL, and then PL means profit and loss report or something like that. Okay. And then I click on add, and then I add another one. Let's say this one's a BS, and then this would be balance sheet report, and click on add. So what's really cool is I take BS or PL and I replace that really quick. So for example, let's say I'm in ChatGPT or whatever, and I type PL, it immediately gives me a suggestion of what are one of the things that you could say, right? So if I do like BS, okay, then it gives me balance sheet report. And that's it. That's text replacement, which is really cool. So I showed you the zoom, I showed you the dictation, and I showed you the text replacements. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you other things that people ask me is, how do you create the screen share video? So I actually use an app called ScreenFlow, which is a very complicated app. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that. You can type ScreenFlow in YouTube tutorial. ScreenFlow tutorial, you can see a gazillion videos on that, and it's a really cool app. I like it. I've been using it forever. A lot of people criticize me that it's like a really basic app. I could use something more sophisticated, but it works for me. But the second one that I use sometimes when I want to make a really quick video and I want to do a lot of editing, I'll use Loom. So Loom, it's loom.com. Loom has a free version that you can get started with. It allows you to record 5-minute videos maximum and up to 25 recordings a month. But then once you need more than that, you get into the business version that actually allows you to do some editing. And then there's also Business Plus AI that has some advanced editing and also converts everything you said in the video to text, which is amazing, mind-blowing actually. So for example, I'm gonna record a video with Loom. I'll click here, it says record a video. And then I'll go in there and say, okay, do I want full screen? Do I want window? So I'm gonna say I want full screen. Do I wanna turn on a camera? There we go. There's my little head here. And I can pick like kind of where I want that in the, like while I'm recording. I can also blur the background, or I can add like an interesting effect here on the background. It does it for me automatically. So it's actually pretty interesting. All the other options you have here for like sort of live effects. And I think you can add your own, you can like add your own thing here too. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So you can add like your own type of canvas here while you're doing a presentation. So that's pretty interesting to have. But anyway, so I'm gonna start the recording. I'm gonna click on start recording. And then I'm gonna choose, okay, what screen am I gonna record? So I'm gonna record this screen or a particular window, whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna go to share. Okay, and then I'll switch over to QuickBooks, and I'll start recording, right? So let me go into QuickBooks and then just say, the way you use QuickBooks to run reports is you're gonna go into your reports. You're gonna click on standard reports, and then you're gonna click on it should be on your sort of your favorites in your hot reports, the profit and loss. So I'm actually gonna click on that. And I'm in my profit and loss now. And what I'll do is I'll right click on the tab and then click on duplicate. And then from any of the screens, it really doesn't matter which screen I'm in. So in any of the screens, I'll go in there and go back to standard reports. And then I can run a balance sheet. So basically I got both reports. I got one tab with the P&L, another tab with the balance sheet. And then if I want to have them like next to each other, I can click and drag it out of the browser, and then I resize the browser. Yeah, and then I put it on the right hand side, and I'll resize the other browser here and put that on the left side, and eventually I split the screen, and now I can potentially see my P&L and my balance sheet next to each other. I can use Control plus and Control minus to zoom in and out. I can collapse the left navigation bar to get a little bit more real estate, and I can kind of scroll my way into seeing two reports side by side. So super easy to run really powerful reports in QuickBooks side by side. Okay, so I'll stop the recording here. So now I stopped the recording officially. So now you're gonna see within a few minutes, the video is gonna pop up in here. And then it already gave it a title. It called it QuickBooks Report Management Tips. It literally read what I was saying, like it understands the context. I open the video here, and super cool. I can share this video out, send it to a client, send it to a team member, whatever it is. I can actually invite people via email directly. I can put this video in social media. Like it really makes it super easy for you to do that. And then there's a lot of really cool editing here, like remove the silence and then remove the filler words and remove, so like remove these things. So it makes the video a little bit shorter. And then we have stylized captions. So we'll actually add, we'll add like text captions in the video. So I click on play. Start recording, right? So let me go into QuickBooks and then just say, the way you use QuickBooks to run reports is you're gonna go into your reports. You're gonna click on standard. I don't know what happened to the captions. I thought I was gonna see the captions there. I guess I would have to turn there you go. So reports, and then you're gonna click on it should be on your sort of your favorites in your hot reports, the profit and loss. So you see those captions are there live, which is really awesome. And you can move the captions around, and you can say, I want these captions in the top or whatever. So it's just really neat. Like just Loom is just pretty amazing. And then you get a summary here, you get timestamps. Down here where it says take action, you can do, go to document and go to step by step. Okay, and then like if you do that, it would actually go in there and write a step-by-step guide with literally with screenshots every single step of the way, back to back, on everything I was using. It took the text, it just it reads everything you're doing, the typing, the text, what's on the screen, like it just determines everything for you, so you can copy and paste this into an email. So it not only records videos, it's like business AI version of it, also like transcribes it. There's like a full transcript here immediately on the dot. So it's like, I mean, I can't, for 25 bucks a month, it's just incredibly powerful. And it's something just really useful for you to have. So you know how to do the Zoom boxes now, you know how to do dictation, you know how to do the auto text replacement, and you know how to use Zoom a little bit. You know a little bit about Zoom, so you can make your own video. So I'm very excited to see what you create with this. Put whatever videos you create in the link, or go in the comments and tell me what you liked about this. Was there anything else that you noticed from my videos that you like and and want me to do coverage for? Thank you. See you in the next one.